Hey everyone, this is Johnny. I'm here with Peter Ong from Dream Rift, and we're playing Epic Mickey Power of Illusion for 3DS. And this is the first time that any of us has gotten a chance to play the game, so I'm very excited as a fan of Monster Tale and Henry Hatsworth and Mickey Mouse games in general. So, Peter, I know that you and Warren talked at the showcase yesterday about this game being inspired by Castle of Illusion, and Warren also kept saying that it would be sort of based on the idea of Wasteland becoming a graveyard for the Disney video games. Now, does that include just Castle of Illusion, or are there other games as well included in that mix?
I think anything goes in Wasteland if it can be conceived of as no longer being completely popular in the public eye, then I think it's fair game for falling into Wasteland. I know that I've discussed the idea of different video games in addition to the Castle of Illusion falling into Wasteland, so I think that it wouldn't be a surprise to see more.
How about DuckTales? Anything like that?
Yeah, I can't really say too much, but if you notice already in the stuff that we've shown for Power of Illusion, you have characters from DuckTales such as Scrooge McDuck.
And then how will all the different, the worlds interact? It seems like you're going to different worlds and basically interacting with characters. How do they fit into the story and also the gameplay?
Okay, so the basic premise of Power of Illusion is that, as mentioned, touched upon just now, the Castle of Illusion has just recently fallen into Wasteland as a forgotten object, and with it still retains its powers of illusion, and those come from the evil witch Mizrabel, who lives inside of the castle, and she's now a very unwilling inhabitant of Wasteland, having arrived in Wasteland as a forgotten character now, and she wants to get back out, but the way in which she does that is she uses her powers of illusion. So first and foremost, her power of illusion allows her to cloak herself as one of any number of Disney villains, so that's why you'll see in the demo and in the footage that we've shown so far, she looks like Maleficent, but she can turn into multiple Disney villains throughout the game. And then secondly, she uses her powers of illusion to cloak the castle in illusion. All of the levels that you play in this game will be drawing from different Disney film IPs, so you'll play through areas that are based in Peter Pan, for example, or Aladdin, for example. The reason why all these characters that you normally wouldn't see in Wasteland are in there is because Mizrabel has also used her powers of illusion to draw their essences into the castle and trap them, and that's actually part of her plan in harnessing their energy in order to propel the castle and her back into the cartoon world.
So, Peter, I know that the games you've worked on and have come up with very creative ways to interact between the touchscreen and the upper screen, and we've the 3DS kind of is a different beast than the DS because the upper screen is so different than the touchscreen. It's not just a lack of touch; it's now in 3D as well. Can you describe how this game deals with that issue or takes advantage of it, and also how the interaction works in this particular game?
That was actually one of the things that brought us back eagerly towards exploring the dual screen interaction on this new Nintendo handheld. The fact that the top screen is stereoscopic immediately spoke to an opportunity that we saw that we didn't think we had seen before in any of the other 3DS games, and we wanted to take advantage of that right away. And it's the idea that since the bottom screen is 2D and the top screen can be projected in stereo 3D, we can show objects in real time crossing from the bottom screen where they're 2D, actually physically moving from 2D on the bottom screen to the top screen in stereoscopic projected 3D. When you paint an object in this game, you actually see it physically cross from the bottom to the top screen, and you see that transition in real time while it being half projected in stereoscopic 3D on the top screen and in 2D on the bottom. So I guess what was interesting to us about that is also tied into our approach in stereoscopic 3D in this game, which is it's not enough for us to just make another polygonal 3D game, as 99% of the games on the 3DS are out there, where players just expect and shut off as the norm the idea that these are in 3D because you just expect these polygonal, first-person shooters or driving games or whatever to just be in 3D, because that's what polygons do in the first place, is they try to simulate 3D, and when it's projected in 3D, it's just one step further to that illusion, right? But with our approach, we're actually punctuating our use of 3D by showing things transition from 2D to 3D from the top to the bottom screen. And in addition to that, our aesthetic is based on hand-drawn, traditional Disney approach to 2D art. And the difference there is that you're seeing things projected stereoscopically in 3D that you wouldn't normally expect to see projected with that kind of layering and depth, as opposed to just a generic polygonal 3D game.
And your last game, Monster Tale, was a non-linear sort of Metroidvania style game where you explored a big world. It had backtracking and different upgrade powers. How does this game compare? Is it more linear? Do you still get these kind of upgrades that let you access different places?
That's a good question. This game's actually another interesting spin on the traditional platforming game structure. It's while it's not there's not a map screen like Monster Tale with a fully Metroidvania structure. It does play with the traditional structure of 2D platforming games. In that the levels are non-linear and have a lot of extra areas off the beaten path to explore, where you can rescue a multitude of rescuable characters into your fortress. Okay, so those are optional to rescue, but the second part in which the level structure is quite different, or the structure to the game rather, is that in between levels that you've beaten, you can visit a totally different game mode called the Fortress. And the way that the Fortress works is that all of the characters that you've taken upon it yourself to rescue within levels go and reside in this safe haven called the Fortress that's inside of the castle. And Mickey, in between levels, can visit the characters he's rescued in the fortress and interact with them for further storyline elements, but more importantly, he can perform quests specific to each of those characters that helps to evolve and grow the fortress and those characters' rooms, and net Mickey rewards that help him to play more effectively within levels. So there's a sort of gameplay feedback loop between your gameplay levels and the fortress, in that you find the characters in gameplay levels, then in the fortress you interact with those characters to get rewards that then help you to become more effective in gameplay levels.
So what kind of quests would you be performing? Would you be going back and replaying previous levels?
Yeah, that's actually another major reason why the levels are less linear. The types of quests that can be performed in the fortress with characters are many and varied. You have what you mentioned, where characters will ask you to find objects that they need back in gameplay levels. So you'll have to jump back into a gameplay level. It can either be a gameplay level that you've beaten already or a new one. It just varies per quest. But if you have to go back into a gameplay level that in order to find something for a character to fulfill their quest, that level can actually be different gameplay wise, and you might access things that you hadn't before in order to get that object. But that's just one of many types of different fortress quests. Other characters' fortress quests will actually ask you to paint things indirectly to their rooms, and then other ones will ask you to fulfill quests for them by talking to or bringing other characters in the fortress to them.
Okay, I think that's all the time we have. Thanks very much, Peter.